This is Caring for Kids on News Talk 760 WJR. Presented by the Children's Foundation. And here's your host, President and CEO of the Children's Foundation, Larry Burns.
Well, thanks, Mark. Hello, everyone, and welcome to Caring for Kids. Tonight's show, we have a great lineup of leaders all doing wonderful work to support youth and their families. Joining us will be Shawn Wilson of the Boys and Girls Clubs of Southeastern Michigan, Kevin Brown of the Illitch Sports and Entertainment, and Suzanne Miller-Allen of Blue Cross Blue Shield. It's all coming up next on Caring for Kids, here on the great voice of the Great Lakes, WJR.
It's Caring for Kids with Larry Burns.
Welcome back, everybody. Larry Burns here, Caring for Kids. Glad you're with us tonight. Joining me now are Shawn Wilson and Kevin Brown. Shawn Wilson is the president and CEO of the Boys and Girls Clubs of Southeastern Michigan. And Kevin Brown is the director of community impact for Illitch Sports and Entertainment. Shawn, your journey to the Boys and Girls Club has been very interesting. Tell our listeners about that pathway, how you got to where you are today.
Absolutely. Well, I appreciate the invitation to be on. And, interesting enough, my career journey started similar to a lot of the youth that we work with in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. And so I started off as a youth worker with the YMCA and Children Outing Association, and then really worked my way up to aquatic coordinator, program director, so on to executive director. And so ultimately, my career has been spent climbing the ladder at every stage. After leaving the YMCA, I actually moved to Atlanta, and that's where I really found my passion for social entrepreneurship. I started a consulting firm helping high net worth social entrepreneurs start their own nonprofit and for-profit ventures. My best known client, I was the founding CEO and president of Usher's New Look. So I helped 8-time Grammy winning artist Usher start his organization, ran that for over a decade plus, and then was approached by Jim Vella, who many of you know as at the time chairman and president of Ford Motor Company Fund, to come and take a look at what was happening in Detroit, and decided to move to Detroit and work with Ford Fund for about 5 years, and had a chance to really work on a lot of interesting projects. There I was able to start the first ever Black Male Initiative that Ford had ever done, called Men of Courage. I was able to open up and manage the Ford Resource and Engagement Center. It was really my first opportunity at placemaking, which was really powerful. And then the last project I worked on was one of the community leads for the train station. And that project really intrigued me to take the position with Boys and Girls Club, because I saw how we at Ford was reimagining this 105-year-old train station as a tech hub, a mobility hub. And when Hiram Jackson sat down with me, who was the chairman of Boys and Girls Club at the time, that's what popped in my head is, could we reimagine the Boys and Girls Club brand for greater community impact?
Great. Well, that's a very exciting journey. All of that has certainly prepared you to be the visionary that you are now with Boys and Girls Club. And I mentioned offline that I spent several years on the board of Boys and Girls Clubs in Toledo, and I know all of the important programs that exist in Boys and Girls Club that are beyond just a place to exercise or a gym. So mental health, I know, has been a big focus over the last few years. So I'm excited to learn more and get more involved. So what are your key strategic initiatives when you arrived, and then as we move forward in this relatively new year?
Yeah. So, when I started 3 years ago, the organization really was on the verge of going out of business. It had over $1 million in debt. We were closing clubs. And so in my first 100 days as CEO, I met with over 300 community stakeholders, led more than a dozen visioning sessions and benchmarking tours, and just asked the community, how do we reimagine this club for greater community impact? And the answer was to treat the root cause of the issue facing our youth, which is poverty or lack of economic mobility opportunities. And so we totally reimagined our mission to focus on ensuring that our youth are career, startup, and homeowner ready. So career ready from a standpoint of they can earn a livable wage, startup, meaning they can start their own business, and then home ownership, because that's really the backbone of wealth building in our country. It's how they'll pass wealth from one generation to the next. It's also how many of them will actually fund their first startup. But what that does mean from a program standpoint is we're really big into workforce and entrepreneurship development. We have a number of industry clubs where we're paying youth up to $13 an hour to go deep into fashion, sports, entertainment, data science, risk management. So in a short period of time, we've really been able to change our model, stay true to who Boys and Girls Clubs are, which is, the core of the foundation is access and a safe place. But then beyond that, we've really been able to expand. And because of that, our numbers have exploded. We went from 5,000 registered members to 14,000 in 3 years, 12,000 total served in a year to 21,000 total served in a year. So we've just seen explosive growth because of our new mission and vision.
That's terrific. And that all starts with leadership at the top. So congratulations to you, Shawn Wilson, for doing that at Boys and Girls Club of Southeastern Michigan. And you mentioned sort of breaking down the decades of poverty. And I was in higher education for 27 years, worked with the Boys and Girls Club in Toledo for the University of Toledo. And you're absolutely right about that. So through healthy bodies, healthy minds, and education, your work is going to change lives. So I congratulate you for all of that. So you mentioned the facilities. Tell our listeners about your facilities, how many you have, where they're located, and maybe some of the innovative programs that you now offer.
We really look at our facilities as economic mobility hubs for the neighborhood. And so we've created an ecosystem throughout or around each of our clubs. And that actually led us to merging with Pony Ride, which was another nonprofit in Southwest Detroit, which has been around for about 10 years. And because of that, our youth are able to get internships and apprenticeship programs with these entrepreneurs. They're able to see entrepreneurs who look like them, who maybe grew up just a few blocks away from the club, really, growing their businesses and see the good and the bad of entrepreneurship, right? And ultimately, these kids are able to help start their own businesses and have coaches and mentors. So entrepreneurship is a really big piece of what we're doing in our clubs now because of that model. But at the end of the day, it goes beyond just placemaking, and it's a place where entrepreneurship happens for not only our youth, but Black and brown businesses and neighborhoods. And we've seen a lot of success with this model. We're putting back about $1 million a year back into minority-owned businesses because of the work we're doing. And that translates to better communities at the end of the day, right?
Absolutely. Those facilities sound terrific, and I can't wait to visit several of them. And so we're relatively getting into the new year, so we're a quarter into it or almost. So what's your vision for 2022? What's on your sort of list to achieve this year that our listeners would enjoy hearing about?
So the first 3 years was really about establishing that vision and doing a lot of pilots and seeing what works. Interesting enough, I was only a year into my position when COVID struck. And so I'm a glasses half full kind of guy. And so I look at it as our new model was really battle tested during COVID, and all of that growth, all of those mergers, all of those, the more than $3 million in dollars that we spend in capital, all of that occurred during COVID. Hopefully we're coming out of COVID to a certain extent. It's an opportunity to really scale the work that we've been doing. So, get to 100% capacity for our Pony Ride tenants, our entrepreneurs in the space, really reactivate our clubs at full capacity. We're doing, especially during the summer, we're doing about 3,000, 4,000 kids a day across all of our clubs and programs. And so, but we still have even more room for growth moving forward. So we're going to really focus on scaling those programs. And then I'm really excited because by the end of this year, we'll have 5 esports lounges, e-gaming lounges in partnership with you guys and the Detroit Red Wings. And, once again, that's a huge hook for our kids. We're competing. One of our board members said this, and I thought it was so true. We're competing. The bad elements that are out there for the kids are very attractive. They're very shiny. They're very, sexy, if you will. And so we're competing with that. So our facilities, our programming has to be exciting. Right. Everything we do has to be world class. And so really this year is all about scale and impact.
And getting back to some sense of normalcy, no doubt, for all of us. So, Shawn Wilson, thank you. And I'm going to ask you if you can stick around, because we're going to talk to Kevin Brown right now, and then we're going to talk to both of you. I'm going to talk to both of you about this new partnership that was announced earlier in March. So, Kevin, welcome to Caring for Kids.
Oh, well, thanks for having me, Larry. I'm excited to be with you and Shawn today.
Great. So we're going to talk a little bit about your efforts first before we talk about the new exciting partnership. So, I believe the Detroit Red Wings have the best brand in the NHL. And so how do you take the Red Wings brand from the ice to the Red Wings Foundation? How does that sort of fit into the brand?
Oh, well, thanks, Larry. I agree. I think we have one of, if not the best brand in the NHL, and maybe in sports as well. But we're so proud of the work that we are able to accomplish every day to make our community stronger. And really, as we focus on supporting youth through education, wellness, and sport participation programming, that's where the Red Wings Foundation comes into play. For many years, the foundation has supported programs and efforts throughout our community, whether that was in the city of Detroit or in the state of Michigan, in order to continue to grow the game of hockey in unique ways.
Yeah, and so we're talking with Kevin Brown, Director of Community Impact for the Illitch Sports and Entertainment. The other thing I love about what you do, particularly before COVID, and I'm certainly after, is how you have the players visit the kids at Children's Hospital of Michigan and visit them with their jerseys, and just to see the faces on some of those youngsters is really cool. So not only are you out in the community, but you're also involved with kids suffering from disease right now. So I commend you for that.
Thanks, Larry. Yeah, it's been a difficult go here as we've navigated the pandemic and what that means for professional sports teams and for entertainment. And so, we're so elated to be at a point now where we are beginning to have the opportunity to have players back out at community events. When we can, based on protocols, and they're excited to be there as well. The players on our roster are world class, and they know that the platform that they have and the status that they have really lends them to be impactful individuals in our community. And so it's exciting to see that we're in a place where we can begin to have the one-on-one interactions, as we'll get into here in a few minutes, with regard to our new partnership with Boys and Girls Clubs of Southeastern Michigan and the Children's Foundation. We were able to see that excitement firsthand a few days ago with this brand new program that we're announcing. And I'll be honest with you, we had a player who was scheduled to attend the event. He was injured during practice that same day. He went, got stitched up, got checked out by a doctor, and was at the event that afternoon. And that tells you something about the guys on our roster and the types of players that we have here in Detroit with the Red Wings organization. They truly care about our community, and they care about making an impact on the lives of kids.
Yeah, and I know that it comes with being a Red Wing. And over my career, I have worked with the 4 professional leagues. So the NFL, Major League Baseball, basketball, and NHL. And I have to say, by far and away, the most accessible players, by far, and not to criticize the others, but are the hockey players. And I've often thought why that is. And, I've thought about, how they spend their junior years with families and they're not at home and they appreciate things. So it really is something special, and nobody does it better than the Red Wings. So it's can't wait to do more, because things are going to get better with this COVID leaving us. So just had to say that about your players and the NHL in general.
Well, thanks, Larry.
So 2022, we're almost a quarter into it. The season is close to being done. And so what are sort of some of the things in front of you besides the project we're going to talk about in a couple minutes?
Sure. So at the beginning of or just prior to the pandemic, we had announced as the Red Wings Foundation a partnership with the National Hockey League, the NHL Players Association, and the team, a brand new platform in the city of Detroit called Learn, Play, Score. This platform was developed out of $1 million commitment on behalf of these organizations to really impact the lives of kids through the sport of hockey, and to rethink the game as it relates to how it's deployed in the city of Detroit, how kids are engaging with the game in the city. It's all about finding those opportunities for access and experiences that may help a kid to see themselves in the game. And so That program launched at the beginning of the pandemic, and I'm proud to say that 2 years later, we continue to impact thousands of kids through Learn, Play, Score every single day and every single year throughout the city of Detroit. And programs like the one we're about to discuss are integral parts of Learn, Play, Score in our growth strategy for that particular platform. And so I'm excited for 22 and beyond. I'm so thankful to our donors that give to the Detroit Red Wings Foundation, because those dollars that are coming in are going right back out to support programs like Learn, Play, Score in the city of Detroit, as well as initiatives across the state of Michigan, all tied to giving kids the opportunity to experience hockey in exciting ways.
Awesome. Great work. So coming up next, we'll continue our conversation with Shawn and Kevin. You don't want to miss it, so don't go away. It's When Caring for Kids continues, here on the great voice of the Great Lakes, WJR.
Welcome back to Caring for Kids on WJR, presented by the Children's Foundation.
Welcome back, everybody. Larry Burns here, Caring for Kids. I'm back with Shawn Wilson and Kevin Brown. If you're just tuning in, so Shawn, I'll start with you. How did the Boys and Girls Clubs of Southeastern Michigan get involved with the Red Wings Foundation, and sort of how did that conversation start?
It started early in my tenure. We were, as I mentioned, reimagining our facilities and the impact that we wanted to have. And Kevin and the Detroit Red Wings really became one of our early adopters, right? Someone who saw the vision before a lot of other people understood what we were doing, and saw the vision and invested in that vision with the first innovation lab and e-gaming center that we put at the Dow campus. And so over the last couple of years, we've really had an opportunity to, and as Kevin said, we've been slowed a little bit by COVID, but we've, still been able to really do some amazing work exposing kids to floor hockey and to, NHL hockey via esports, and get them interested and intrigued in the game.
Great. Awesome. So, Kevin, what attracted you? There's a lot of nonprofits in the city of Detroit, as you know, and what attracted you to the Boys and Girls Club?
Well, I think your listeners have heard it here from Shawn. His passion and what he has done with the Boys and Girls Clubs of Southeastern Michigan in such a short period of time is remarkable. And so for us at the Red Wings, as we were building out Learn, Play, Score and what that approach would be, we were working with the late Marlo Stoudemeyer on how to really make sure that our programming was connected with the right organizations in Detroit that were doing the work on the ground in a way that was going to really help us as an organization with our mission, which is ultimately to grow the game. And so as we reviewed what Shawn and his team were doing at Boys and Girls Club, it was a no-brainer that we find a way to work together. And, from that conversation, as Shawn mentioned early on in the process, we were able to grow what is now a brand new 3-year, $300,000 pilot program with the Boys and Girls Clubs, the Children's Foundation, and the Detroit Red Wings Foundation called Esports and Hockey. And this new initiative is really special. It's that intersection between the excitement of esports and really capitalizing on that right now, as well as an intersection between that, the game of hockey and physical play, and then really something that I know is near and dear to the Children's Foundation in understanding how we continue to work on mental wellness and what that means for kids on a day-to-day basis.
Absolutely. And so, Shawn, let's now talk about the programs being created. So, if you can mention some of those so our listeners get a sense of the actual programs that will take place over the next several years.
Yeah, so one of the biggest programs, obviously, is going to be the esports league, e-gaming league. But also there's a really strong tech component to this where we're also, we want kids to play the game, but we also want them to build the games, right? We want them to become tech entrepreneurs and become the next game designers in the field, if you will, and the next tech entrepreneurs in the field. So that's another big focus. Also, of course, floor hockey. And then our workforce and entrepreneurship development program, the Esports and Sports Industry Club, is really going to help the youth go behind the scenes at all the different careers that are available in these industries.
Absolutely. So, and I said offline to Shawn, Kevin, that I was captain of the floor hockey team in intramurals at Central Michigan University. So I'm interested in maybe coming back I might be a little old, but if there's a place for me, please keep me in mind.
Listen, Larry, we're gonna get you out there.
All right,
get you out there.
Okay.
There's no end age in hockey, so we'll get you there.
I have my Red Wing jersey.
Yeah. The good thing about floor hockey is all you need is a pair of sneakers and a will to go. So
yeah, exactly. So, Kevin, so how will this work with the Red Wings and the Children's Foundation? So let's tell our listeners about that partnership.
Yeah, absolutely. And as Shawn mentioned, all of these really interesting programs that are inside this esports and hockey initiative. And so the Red Wings Foundation and the Children's Foundation will be on this journey hand in hand with the Boys and Girls Clubs for the next 3 years as we work through this initial 3-year pilot. And what's really exciting about this is often what you see when you fund a grant, the timing on the actual programming is finite, right? So it's, well, we're going to host a 6-week program and, we'll tell you about it at the end of the year and then, we'll do the 6-week program and again in a year. What esports and hockey does, and credit to Shawn and his team, is it provides accessibility and experiences for kids year round. And so with the Red Wings Foundation and the Children's Foundation, we'll be able to engage with kids throughout the year in 3 different semesters so that the number of kids that end up being impacted at the end of the year are in the hundreds. And so as we look at that, we think about, from the Red Wings perspective, how are we engaging our players and our front office staff to help with either the hockey portions or, to Shawn's point earlier around workforce development, helping to open the eyes of the kids that are at those clubs and have them see that, maybe you're really excited about hockey, but the actual physical game isn't for you. Well, there are opportunities to work in the sport. There's opportunities to be a part of our front office. And then we look at the Children's Foundation and the fact that you have so many partners that work in the youth space, and particularly, as I mentioned earlier, as we look at that mental wellness area and ensuring that we're marrying that appropriately with programming so that kids take a break when they need to take a break, right? And
absolutely.
And that the Children's Foundation is able to work hand in hand with the Boys and Girls Club to make those appropriate connections with leading doctors or individuals in our community who can come in and talk to the kids or talk to the Boys and Girls Club staff about this important topic.
Yeah, couldn't have said it any better.
And if I can piggyback on that mental health piece, so once again, we're an organization that likes to treat the root cause, and poverty is trauma, right? Poverty, if anyone has ever been food insecure, right, then they understand the trauma that comes with that. If anyone has lived in, blighted communities, things of that nature, they understand the trauma that comes with that. And so from a mental health standpoint, from a social and emotional standpoint, the workforce development piece that the 3 of us are collaborating on has a long-term impact on youth mental health, right? So of course we want to provide, and it's so important to provide those mental health services each and every day when the youth come into the clubs. But by addressing economic mobility, we're addressing mental health and social and emotional needs long-term. And I just think that that's something important. Once again, breadth and depth, that's really what this partnership has, both short-term and long-term for the youth.
Absolutely. And Kevin mentioned our additional partners. I've already started thinking about what else we can do together. The Children's Foundation now operates First Tee Greater Detroit during the winter months, but just doing more together for the kids of Detroit and beyond. And so breaking down these silos that have existed in some organizations, and that's one of the things I think the Children's Foundation can do, and we'll keep working on it. So last question for you, gentlemen, is what's the timeline to get these programs rolling?
So we started piloting, for instance, the floor hockey. We've been introducing the kids to floor hockey over the last couple of years and really started to ramp it up recently, kind of leading into this launch. So, once again, now we're at a point of scaling. We started it at our Doubt Club, and then we started introducing it at our other clubs over the last, 3 to 6 months. And so now we're looking at full-blown scale, which is fantastic. And then the esports lounges, we have 2 now. We have another one coming online this spring, another one by the summer, and then the last one by the fall. So by the end of the year, we'll have all 5 facilities stood up to where we can launch esports.
Great. Thank you. Kevin, any last words?
I think, one thing we didn't mention is sustainability. And so one thing I want to point out is that this program is intended to be sustainable in the way of going longer than this pilot. And in doing that, really help us create something that doesn't feel like it's a one and done and doesn't, and for the kids, and Shawn, you know this, right? Like the stability piece is so important. And so I want to thank our Red Wings fans, because moving forward, whenever you see a scoreboard message in Little Caesars Arena, somebody announcing a birthday or, asking a significant other to marry them, all of those contributions that our fans make in order to place those scoreboard messages will now go toward supporting the esports and hockey initiative with help from our friends at the Children's Foundation. And so what that's going to do is continue to give us that base of funding that will help this initiative continue to keep going.
Yeah. So thank you, Red Wing fans. Appreciate it very much. Plus, the scoreboard is so cool. It's really been a team effort. I need to thank my colleague, Jill Nelson, for all her work, my friend Zach Carter at the Red Wings, and then new friends at Boys and Girls Club, Shawn and his team. They've been working on this for a long time. So thank you, everybody. And we're just getting started, as I like to say. So, gentlemen, thank you very, very much for all you're doing and for our partnership.
Thank you.
Thanks, Larry.
Yep. Alrighty, thanks. That was Shawn Wilson of the Boys and Girls Clubs of Southeastern Michigan and Kevin Brown of Illitch Sports and Entertainment. Coming up next, I'll be speaking to another partner. That's Suzanne Miller-Allen of Blue Cross Blue Shield when Caring for Kids continues here on the great voice of the Great Lakes, WJR.
Welcome back to Caring for Kids on WJR, presented by the Children's Foundation. Once again, here's Larry Burns.
Well, we're moving right along here, Caring for Kids March edition. With me now is Suzanne Miller-Allen. Suzanne is the Senior Director of Community Responsibility and Social Mission at Blue Cross Blue Shield of Michigan. Suzanne, welcome to Caring for Kids. Why don't you start by telling our listeners a little bit about your role at Blue Cross Blue Shield of Michigan?
Great. Well, thank you for having me on.
Of course.
Hi, I'm Suzanne Miller-Allen, and in my role, we oversee our charitable and philanthropic giving and community partnerships. Blue Cross Blue Shield is the largest private funder of our free clinics across the state of Michigan, which is done through our social mission area. And we also fund the Building Healthy Communities school grants. We give in all 83 counties, and we have partners all across the state working to impact and improve the health of Michigan.
Wonderful. And you're also a great partner of the Children's Foundation. So Blue Cross Blue Shield, Suzanne, is a presenting sponsor of our Child and Adolescent Behavioral Summit again this year. So first of all, thank you.
Glad to do it.
We appreciate your continued support. How does supporting an event like this tie into what you were just talking about at your role and mission at Blue Cross Blue Shield?
Well, first of all, we are glad to be the presenting sponsor again. And this summit is an opportunity really to focus on things that we are working on and to help our partners learn more. One of the things that we have worked on is children's health and all the things that go into that, and particularly a focus on behavioral health. As you know, in your work, Larry, the pandemic has just not been good to our kids in terms of their mental health. And this is an opportunity to talk about that. And so this summit, bringing all people together, just is a good thing to help and to give people the tools and the knowledge of some of the best practices, great speakers and practitioners that are coming. So we're excited about the event.
Great. Thank you. We feel that it'll be our best one so far, particularly since we're back in person. We're talking with Suzanne Miller-Allen of Blue Cross Blue Shield about their great support throughout the state of Michigan and beyond of programs for kids and adults and families. So aside from the summit, I mentioned that we're partners. We've partnered on several projects, including the Trails program in Detroit Public Schools, suicide prevention programming in Kalamazoo, and most recently, support of the MAID Institute in Flint. So can you tell our listeners about one or several of those programs in case they're not aware of them?
Sure. And Larry, I think we will continue to partner and look for other ways to work together. I think I'll talk about Trails first.
Okay,
and
good.
Like a lot of things in healthcare and other things in our world, there's an acronym for them. And so your listeners might be wondering, well, what is Trails? Is that about hiking? How does that relate to kids' health? But TRAILS actually stands for the Transforming Research into Action to Improve the Lives of Students. And it is a mental health program that started out in the Ann Arbor schools with the University of Michigan and Blue Cross Blue Shield. And you are funding the expansion of this program into the Detroit public schools. And so in working with TRAILS, it has helped give kids all grades screenings. It's helped offer training for the staff of the Detroit Community District to help them learn about students and to teach some of the social and emotional learning components, again, that'll help students cope. And so this program has had really good success. And by us working together, we've been able to expand it in the Detroit public schools.
Yes, and you mentioned training the teachers, which is so important because most teachers, as we know, don't have that training in school.
Right.
But yet they're in a classroom, particularly the last few years, where they're seeing behavior that they're not trained to deal with. And so it's not only a bad situation for the children, but the teachers themselves, it puts them in a very stressful environment. So that training is, to me, one of the most important parts of TRAILS.
Yeah, I feel that same way. And I think it's had really good success in expanding. And the other thing I mentioned, is the work that we've done on suicide. And I think that those who are listening, I know in just this week, in my own life, friends lost a child to suicide, and it's so painful. It used to be something that it wasn't as common and people didn't know, but sadly that has changed. And so the grants I know that we have been working on have helped in the Kalamazoo area grant, helped focus on kids that were at risk, trying to identify them, to look for rapid follow-up, care transition for them, and then trying to expand capacity for treatment. And this is an area there needs to be more treatment, and our grant funding with you has helped do that. And, it's an area, as I said, we're going to continue to work on. Yeah,
it certainly is one of our emerging focus areas in the mental health areas, suicide prevention. And you're right, it's happening far too often. And, you add that with addiction. And, so that our kids in middle school and high school are suffering so much. So what you're doing and what we're helping with is so important.
And Larry, you mentioned we've worked on the opioid issue together.
Yeah, absolutely.
And funding with the Jamie Daniels Foundation,
right.
With you, and again trying to get at those that need help and offer opportunities for care.
Yeah. So one of the things that I admire of many of what you're doing is that you've decided to create these consortium of funders that Blue Cross Blue Shield Foundation leverages other funders like the Children's Foundation, sort of like, hey, join us in this effort. And so tell our listeners a little bit about that. And is that something you continue to hopefully do?
Well, I think it's like anything else in life. You can work on something by yourself and you can impact it. But if you can get more people to help you, then you amplify your work and broaden the resources available and the impact. And that's what we have really tried to do, is to cultivate relationships with partners all across the state and then bring people together. And, we have been very successful, and you've been part of that. Everybody brings a piece of something to the pie. And then at the end, you have a lot of funding and also the different connections that every organization has. One of the things we're working on this year, it's a broader part of children's health, is one of our charitable focus for the year is on child abuse and prevention. And we are working with the Children's Trust Fund. Our CEO, Dan Lepp, and his wife, Amy, are chairing the Children's Trust Fund signature auction, which will be May 17th. And so April, you may know, is Child Abuse Prevention and Awareness Month. And so we're doing all across the state a lot of activation on that. And the pinwheels, which is the symbol of child abuse awareness. We are building pinwheel gardens all across the state in April. I think your listeners will see that as part of that awareness. And then really trying to talk about it and let people know the signs and ways that they can get involved. So we're working on that, and other partners too. The question is about partnerships. We feel just passionately about partnerships, and we'll continue to collaborate.
Excellent. So abuse and neglect is one of our focus areas. So let me know how we can get involved and help Dan and you in that effort. So that's something I'd love to be part of as well. But your bringing these organizations together, you're so right. You know, we've now interacted with organizations we didn't know about, and they didn't know about us.
Right.
You know, we got into Kalamazoo, which is something we wanted to do. So we're actually going to try to create some consortiums too. So I may be calling and saying, hey, will you join this effort? And I've learned from you. So thanks
I'll
for
take
the
your
mentoring.
call.
Yeah, thank you.
We'll take your call. But, you know, we're in all 83 counties, Larry, our customers are, and we try, and we have supported things in all 83 counties, and to try and help the health in Michigan, and that's what it's about.
Yeah, well, we're not in all the counties yet, but we're trying. So we'll be following your footsteps as well. So Suzanne Miller-Allen, anything else you want to bring up regarding Blue Cross Blue Shield and your initiatives?
No, we're excited about this upcoming summit and the work that we're doing on child abuse. And we have other initiatives of things that we are working on. And so there's a lot of work going on that, and we'll continue throughout the year. And we just appreciate the support of our customers across Michigan.
Good. I'm one of those customers, by the way.
Thank you. Yes, absolutely.
Just wanted you to know that. So thank you for all you're doing. Thanks for your partnerships. And we look forward to continuing to be a partner of Blue Cross Blue Shield and with you, Suzanne. So thank you.
Thank you very much.
Yes, that was Suzanne Miller-Allen of Blue Cross Blue Shield, doing great work, by the way. Coming up next, I'm going to provide an update on some Children's Foundation news. So don't go away. Right here on the great voice of the Great Lakes, WJR. Well, that was a great show, great guests, great partnerships we're talking about with all three guests. That's what it's all about at the Children's Foundation. We have a lot of things going on I wanted to tell you about. A reminder that our third annual Child and Adolescent Behavioral Health Summit will take place in person on April 12th at the Inn at St. John's in Plymouth, Michigan. This event will be filled with valuable information from professionals and insiders addressing a variety of important mental wellness topics. Visit ourchildrensfoundation.org to get your tickets today. Our affiliate, the Jamie Daniels Foundation, will be holding a new event on May 1st, which is called Comedy Night of Hope. This event takes place at Mark Ridley's Comedy Castle in Royal Oak, and there will be 2 shows. Proceeds will support a new adolescent substance abuse treatment center that will open later this year in Troy. Go to jamiedanielsfoundation.org for more information. We also are pleased and excited to announce the tickets are now on sale for our 6th annual Derby for Kids. The Derby for Kids will be held on May 7th at the beautiful Country Club of Detroit. There'll be live entertainment, a wonderful silent auction, the Kentucky Derby, of course, and fun for everyone. The best part is that this event also raises funds for an important new project that will provide support for adolescents and their families dealing with substance abuse. Visit yourchildrensfoundation.org for more information. Thanks for joining us tonight. We look forward to keeping in touch over the month. And next time, please join us for Caring for Kids. Indeed.
Caring for Kids with Larry Burns on WJR has been presented by the Children's